Picture this. A mother walks into a photography studio. She wants a portrait of her daughter for her 16th birthday. The photographer greets her warmly, shows her a portfolio, discusses lighting, backdrop, wardrobe. 2 weeks later, she returns for the shoot. The photographer spends 3 hours getting the perfect shot. Another week passes. Final edits, touch-ups, color correction. The mother pays $800 and walks away with a framed memory. Now, picture this. That same mother opens her phone. She uploads a few selfies of her daughter. She types, "Professional portrait, soft lighting, elegant, timeless." 30 seconds later, AI generates 50 variations. She picks one. She pays $12. She prints it at home. It's perfect. Welcome to 2025, where the camera didn't lie, but it did learn to see without a human eye behind it. For 185 years, photography was an art form that required a human soul, someone who understood light, emotion, timing, and truth. Someone who could capture not just what you look like, but who you are. But here's the thing about patterns. Once a machine learns them, it never forgets. And photography, despite all its artistry, follows patterns, composition, lighting, angles, expression. All of it can be learned. All of it can be replicated. And now all of it can be generated from nothing but text and data. A recent study from MIT showed that AI-generated portraits are now indistinguishable from professional photography in blind tests 87% of the time. Let that sink in. 9 out of 10 people cannot tell the difference between a photo taken by a trained professional and one hallucinated by a machine that has never held a camera. But this isn't just about wedding photographers losing clients to Midjourney. This is about something far deeper. This is about the moment when the human act of seeing becomes optional, when memory itself can be fabricated, when reality becomes negotiable. And the most terrifying part? It's already happening. Stock photography was the first to fall. Getty Images, once a billion-dollar empire built on human photographers traveling the world, now offers AI-generated images at a fraction of the cost. Shutterstock followed. Adobe integrated AI directly into Photoshop. The message is clear. Why pay a human to capture reality when a machine can dream it into existence faster, cheaper, and infinitely? But let's zoom out for a second. Because this isn't really about cameras or megapixels or even art. This is about value. What makes a photograph valuable? Is it the technical skill, the equipment, the time spent? Or is it something else entirely, something we've been too afraid to name? For centuries, we believed that to create, you had to be present. To photograph a sunset, you had to be there. To capture a child's laughter, you had to witness it. To freeze a moment in time, you had to exist in that moment. But AI doesn't need to be present. It doesn't need to witness. It can generate a sunset it has never seen, a child it has never met, a moment that never happened. And the world is buying it. Welcome to Part 1. What makes this job safe or doomed? Let's talk about what's actually happening right now, not in some distant dystopian future, but today, in studios and agencies and living rooms across the world. Sarah is a wedding photographer in Portland. She's been doing this for 12 years. She's got a loyal client base, a strong Instagram presence, 5-star reviews. Last year, she booked 40 weddings. This year, she's booked 18. When she asks couples why they're passing, they're honest. We're using AI for our engagement photos, and honestly, they look amazing. We'll just hire someone for the ceremony. She used to charge $3,000 per wedding. Now she's down to $800 and still losing clients. Then there's Marcus, a commercial photographer in New York. He used to shoot product photography for e-commerce brands. Shoes, watches, handbags. He was making 6 figures. Then Shopify integrated AI product photography into their platform. Now brands can photograph their products on a white background with an iPhone, and AI generates lifestyle shots, models, environments, lighting, everything. Marcus lost 70% of his clients in 8 months. He now drives for Uber on weekends. Or take the entire industry of headshot photography. LinkedIn portraits, corporate profiles, acting headshots. There are now AI apps that generate professional headshots from casual selfies. Upload 5 photos, get back 50 professional-grade portraits in different styles, outfits, backgrounds, lighting conditions. Cost, $29. A human photographer charges $200 minimum. The pattern is undeniable. Anywhere photography follows a predictable structure, composition, style, or purpose, AI can replicate it. And it's not just replicating, it's iterating. It's learning from every photograph ever taken by every photographer who ever lived. It has studied Ansel Adams and Annie Leibovitz and Steve McCurry. It knows the golden ratio, the rule of thirds, Rembrandt lighting, chiaroscuro. It understands these things not as art, but as data, as patterns, as algorithms. And here's the cold, hard truth that nobody wants to say out loud. For most photography, that's enough. Let me be clear. I'm not talking about art. I'm not talking about the photographer who spends 3 years documenting the lives of coal miners in Appalachia. I'm not talking about the photojournalist who risks her life in a war zone to show the world what's happening. I'm talking about the bread and butter of the photography industry, the stuff that pays the bills, family portraits, product shots, real estate photography, event coverage, corporate headshots, stock images. All of it is being automated, and the companies driving this aren't small startups. They're giants. Adobe, Google, Microsoft. They're integrating AI directly into the tools photographers use. Photoshop now has a generative fill feature that can add, remove, or change anything in a photo with a text prompt. Lightroom uses AI to auto-edit photos with professional-grade color correction. Your iPhone uses computational photography, which is just a fancy way of saying AI is deciding what your photo should look like before you even press the shutter. The camera is no longer a tool, it's a collaborator. And soon, it won't need you at all. There's a quote from a Google AI researcher that keeps me up at night. If your job follows a pattern, AI can replicate it faster, cheaper, and endlessly. Photography follows patterns. Lots of them. So here's the question nobody wants to ask. What happens when a machine can not only match human ability, but exceed it? What happens when AI can generate a portrait that's more flattering, more emotionally compelling, more perfect than anything a human could capture? Because that's not a future scenario. That's now. There are AI models that can generate hyper-realistic portraits of people who don't exist. They look real. They feel real. They have light in their eyes, texture in their skin, emotion in their expression. But they were never born. They never laughed or cried or loved or lost. They are ghosts summoned from the void by algorithms trained on billions of human faces. And they're being used everywhere. Advertising, social media, marketing, entertainment. Why hire a model and a photographer when you can generate both for the cost of electricity? But here's where it gets darker. These AI models don't just create new faces, they can alter real ones. They can make you younger, thinner, taller, more symmetrical. They can change your race, your gender, your expression. They can put you in places you've never been, doing things you've never done. They can rewrite your visual history, and people are starting to prefer it. Because reality is messy. Reality has bad lighting and unflattering angles and moments you'd rather forget. AI doesn't have those problems. AI gives you the version of yourself you wish existed. So here's the uncomfortable question. If people prefer the AI version, does the real version still matter? Photographers are starting to realize something chilling. They're not just competing with other photographers anymore. They're competing with perfection, with an idealized, algorithmically optimized version of reality that never existed, but feels more real than the truth. And they're losing. Major brands are already pivoting. Vogue has published AI-generated fashion photography. Sports Illustrated featured AI-generated models. Netflix uses AI to generate promotional images. Even the New York Times has experimented with AI-generated illustrations. The message is clear. Human photographers are becoming optional. But here's what really keeps me awake at night. It's not just that AI can replicate photography. It's that it's teaching us to stop looking. When you can generate any image you want, you stop seeing the world as it is. You stop being present. You stop bearing witness. Photography used to be an act of attention, of paying homage to reality. Now it's becoming an act of imagination, of conjuring fantasy. And once we stop looking at the world, once we stop documenting reality, once we stop bearing witness to each other's existence, what happens to truth? So what happens to those who refuse to adapt? They vanish, quietly, not with some dramatic collapse, but with a slow erosion of relevance. Fewer bookings, lower rates, younger clients who don't understand why they should pay for something they can get for free, and eventually a decision: pivot or perish. Some photographers are already pivoting. They're learning to use AI as a tool rather than fight it as a threat. They're using AI to generate concepts, to preview compositions, to automate editing. They're becoming directors rather than operators. They're focusing on the parts of photography that can't be automated: the relationship with the client, the emotional intelligence, the ability to make someone feel safe and seen. But that only works if there's still a market for it. And the market is saying something different. The market is saying, I don't need perfect. I don't need real. I just need fast and cheap and good enough. And AI delivers that every single time. Every machine replaces a task, but never a dream. Let me take you back for a moment. Let's talk about what happened before. In 1811, a group of English textile workers called the Luddites began smashing the mechanical looms that were replacing them. They weren't anti-technology. They were anti-poverty. They saw the machines taking their livelihoods, and they fought back the only way they knew how. History remembers them as fools. But here's what history forgets. They were right. The machines did take their jobs. Thousands of skilled artisans lost their livelihoods. But something else happened too. New jobs emerged: factory managers, machine operators, engineers, textile designers. The industry didn't disappear. It transformed. And while the transition was brutal, the world that emerged on the other side was more prosperous, more productive, more connected. The same thing happened with the invention of recorded music. In 1900, there were thousands of professional piano players in America, employed in hotels, restaurants, theaters, and homes. Then the phonograph arrived. By 1930, most of them were unemployed. Musicians protested. They said recorded music would kill live performance, destroy the soul of music, eliminate the need for human artistry. They were half right. The number of professional musicians did crash, but something unexpected happened. Recorded music made music accessible to everyone. It created entirely new industries: record labels, radio, sound engineering, music production. It gave rise to genres that couldn't exist in live performance: studio experimentation, multi-track recording, electronic music. The death of the piano player gave birth to the modern music industry. And then there's the story you already know. The story of digital photography killing film. Kodak, once one of the most valuable companies in the world, filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Why? Because they built their empire on film, and film became obsolete. But photography didn't die. It exploded. There are more photographs taken every 2 minutes today than in the entire 19th century. Instagram has over 2 billion users. Photography became democratized. Everyone became a photographer. And now AI is doing to photography what digital did to film. It's democratizing it even further. It's removing the barriers of skill, equipment, and access. Anyone can create a professional quality image now, regardless of whether they understand aperture or ISO or composition. So here's the question. Is this the death of photography, or is this just the next chapter? History suggests it's the latter. Every technological disruption creates a period of chaos, a collapse of the old order, and then an emergence of something new. Something we couldn't have predicted, something that makes the old way seem quaint. But here's the twist. The past disruptions replaced tasks. They automated labor. They made production faster and cheaper. But they didn't replace creativity. They didn't replace human judgment. They didn't replace the soul of the work. AI is different. AI doesn't just automate tasks. It generates, it creates, it imagines. It does the thing we thought was uniquely, fundamentally, irreducibly human. So maybe this time is different. Maybe this is the disruption that doesn't just change the job, it changes the human. Or maybe, just maybe, it forces us to discover what it means to be human in the first place. Because here's what AI can't do, at least not yet, and maybe not ever. It can't care. It can't bear witness. It can't hold space for grief or joy or the messiness of being alive. It can't sit with a mother who just lost her son and photograph her in a way that honors her pain. It can't spend a decade documenting a community and earn the trust that allows people to reveal their truth. It can't look into someone's eyes and see not just their face, but their story. Photography, at its highest level, was never about the camera. It was about the photographer. It was about the human who chose to look, to pay attention, to give a damn about what they saw. The camera was just a tool, and tools change. But the human impulse to see and be seen, to document and be remembered, to connect and be understood, that doesn't change. So yes, AI can generate a perfect portrait, but can it generate a meaningful one? That depends on what we mean by meaning. And that's the question photographers need to answer now, before the market answers it for them. Because there's a future where photography splits into two paths. One path is utilitarian, fast, cheap, algorithmic, good enough for commerce, for content, for the endless scroll of images that nobody really looks at. That path is already dominated by AI, and it will only grow. But there's another path. A path where photography is intentional, where it's rare, where it's human, where the image matters not because of its technical perfection, but because of the relationship, the context, the presence behind it, where someone chose to be there, to witness, to care. That path is harder, it's slower, it's less profitable, but it's the only path that AI can't walk. The question is, how many photographers will choose it, and how many clients will value it? Because if the market decides that meaning doesn't matter, that presence is optional, that a perfect algorithmic portrait is better than an imperfect human one, then yes, photographers are in trouble. But if we decide differently, if we insist that reality still matters, that truth is worth preserving, that being seen by another human is fundamentally different from being generated by a machine, then maybe, just maybe, the human photographer survives, not as a commodity, but as an artist, not as a button pusher, but as a witness. Every machine replaces a task, but never a dream. The question is, what's your dream? And can a machine dream it for you? Audit, adapt, build, own. Those 4 words might be the difference between extinction and evolution. Let me break them down. Audit your job. Seriously. Right now. Look at what you do as a photographer and divide it into 2 columns. Column 1. Tasks that follow patterns. Tasks that are repeatable. Tasks that could be automated. Column 2. Tasks that require human judgment, emotional intelligence, relationship building, creative intuition. Be ruthless. Be honest. Most photographers will find that 60 to 80% of what they do falls into column 1. Editing, retouching, basic composition, standard poses, predictable lighting setups. All of that can be automated. All of that will be automated. But that other 20 to 40%, that's your future. That's the part worth fighting for. Let me give you an example. There's a photographer in Tokyo named Yuki. She used to do corporate headshots. Standard stuff. White background, neutral expression, professional attire. She was making a decent living until AI headshot apps exploded in Japan. Her bookings dropped 90% in 6 months. She could have quit. Instead, she audited. She realized that her clients didn't just want a headshot. They wanted to feel confident. They wanted to feel seen. They wanted someone to tell them they looked good, that they mattered, that they were presenting the best version of themselves to the world. The photo was just evidence of that experience. So she pivoted. She started offering confidence portraits. Same technical process, but she reframed the service. It wasn't about the photo anymore. It was about the session, the conversation, the validation, the human connection. She tripled her rates and started booking out months in advance. Why? Because AI can generate a perfect headshot, but it can't make you feel seen. Adapt. This is the hard part. Adaptation doesn't mean abandoning your craft. It means evolving it. It means learning to use the tools that are replacing you. I know that feels like betrayal. I know it feels like surrendering. But here's the truth. Every professional photographer is already using AI, whether they admit it or not. Your camera uses computational photography. Your editing software uses AI color correction. Your printer uses AI to enhance image quality. You're already in a partnership with AI. The question is whether you're a conscious partner or an unwilling victim. Learn to use AI as a tool. Use it to generate concepts. Use it to preview compositions. Use it to automate the boring parts so you can focus on the meaningful parts. Use it to scale your creativity, not replace it. There's a photographer in Berlin named Klaus. He specializes in architectural photography. When AI image generation got good enough to create photorealistic building renders, he thought he was finished. Architects could just generate visualizations of their projects before they were even built. Why would they need him? But Klaus adapted. He started using AI to generate preliminary concepts for his shoots. He'd create 20 different lighting scenarios, angles, and compositions using AI, show them to clients, get feedback, and then execute the final shoot with that direction. His shoots became more efficient, his clients were happier, and his creative output doubled. He turned AI from a competitor into a collaborator. Build. This is where most photographers get stuck. They think their job is to take photos. It's not. Their job is to build something that can't be automated, a brand, a relationship, a perspective, a voice. AI can generate a portrait, but it can't generate trust. It can't generate a reputation. It can't generate 15 years of relationships with clients who come back because they know you, like you, and want to support you. Build your name. Build your style. Build your community. Build something that exists beyond the photograph itself. There's a wedding photographer in Austin named Maria. When AI started threatening her business, she didn't fight the technology. She leaned into what made her different. She started a YouTube channel documenting her process. She shared behind-the-scenes footage of her shoots. She talked about the emotions, the stories, the relationships. She built an audience of 200,000 subscribers who felt like they knew her. Now, when couples book her for weddings, they're not just buying photos. They're buying Maria. They're buying the experience of being photographed by someone they've watched, someone they trust, someone they feel connected to. Her rates have gone up, not down, and she's booked 2 years in advance. Why? Because people don't want a perfect photo from a machine. They want a meaningful photo from a human they care about. Own. This is the final piece. Ownership. Not just of your work, but of your destiny. The photographers who survive won't be the ones working for studios or agencies or platforms. They'll be the ones who own their entire ecosystem. Their client list, their distribution, their pricing, their brand. This is the hardest lesson. For decades, photographers could make a living by being competent and available. You could shoot for Getty or Shutterstock or a local studio and make steady money. That world is gone. Platforms will replace you with AI because it's cheaper and they don't owe you loyalty. But if you own your client relationships, if you own your brand, if you own your distribution, you can't be replaced. You are the platform. There's a portrait photographer in London named James. He used to sell prints through galleries. When AI art started flooding the market, galleries stopped buying. But James owned his email list, 10,000 people who'd bought his work over the years. He started offering exclusive, limited edition prints directly to them. He made more money in 6 months than he'd made in 3 years of gallery sales. Ownership is survival. You can't control the technology. You can't control the market. But you can control whether you build something that belongs to you. So here's your playbook. Audit what you do. Figure out what's automatable and what's irreplaceable. Adapt your tools. Use AI as an ally, not an enemy. Build your brand. Create something that exists beyond the service you provide. Own your ecosystem. Don't depend on platforms or intermediaries. Build direct relationships with your audience. This isn't a guarantee. There will be photographers who do everything right and still lose. This is a disruption, and disruptions are brutal. But this is the path that gives you a chance. Adaptation isn't just intelligence, it's survival written in human code. So here we are, the end of one story and the beginning of another. Photographers are in trouble. That much is true. The old models are collapsing. The easy money is gone. The market is being flooded with AI-generated images that are cheaper, faster, and often indistinguishable from human work. But here's what else is true. Photography isn't dying. It's being redefined. For 185 years, photography was about capturing reality, about documenting what was there, about bearing witness to the world as it is. But AI has made that function optional. If you can generate any image you want, why bother capturing reality? And maybe that's the point. Maybe the question isn't whether AI can replace photographers. Maybe the question is whether we still need photography at all. Or maybe, just maybe, we need it more than ever. Because in a world where any image can be fabricated, where reality is negotiable, where truth is just another filter, the photograph that matters isn't the one that's perfect, it's the one that's real. And real requires a witness. Real requires presence. Real requires a human who chose to be there, to look, to document, to say, this happened, this mattered, this was true. AI can generate beauty. It can generate emotion. It can generate images that make you feel something. But it can't generate presence. It can't generate witness. It can't generate the weight of knowing that someone was there, that someone saw, that someone cared enough to remember. That's the future of photography. Not as a commodity, not as a service, but as an act of witness, as a declaration that being present still matters, that seeing and being seen still matters, that reality, messy and imperfect and unoptimized, still matters. The photographers who survive won't be the ones with the best cameras, or the most followers, or the fanciest AI tools. They'll be the ones who understand that photography was never about the image. It was always about the human behind it. Let me tell you one more story. There's a photographer named Elena. She documents the lives of elderly people in rural Spain, villages that are dying as young people move to cities. She spends weeks in each village, living with families, sharing meals, earning trust. Her photos aren't technically perfect. The lighting is often harsh. The compositions are sometimes awkward, but they're real. They're true. They matter. Could AI generate images of elderly Spanish villagers? Absolutely. Could those images be more flattering, more dramatic, more aesthetically pleasing? Probably. But would they matter? Would they carry the weight of witness? Would they honor the lives of people who are vanishing? No, because AI wasn't there. It didn't sit with Maria, 87 years old, as she showed photos of her husband who died 30 years ago. It didn't listen to Jose describe the olive groves his grandfather planted. It didn't bear witness to the slow, dignified end of a way of life. Elena's photos matter not because they're perfect, but because she was there, because she cared, because she chose to see. That's the future, not for everyone, not for every photographer, but for the ones who understand that photography is a choice to pay attention in a world that's increasingly distracted. So here's the resolution, the choice, the fork in the road. You can fight the future. You can insist that things should go back to the way they were. You can rage against the machines, and you will lose. Not because you're wrong, but because the world doesn't care about should. It only cares about what is. Or you can dance with the future. You can learn the new tools. You can adapt the old craft. You can find the parts of your work that can't be automated and make those the center of everything you do. You can build something that matters, not because it's perfect, but because it's human. Extinction or evolution. The choice is yours. But here's what I believe. I believe that humans will always want to be seen by other humans. I believe that reality will always matter more than fantasy. I believe that presence, witness, and care are things that machines can simulate but never embody. I believe that the act of looking, really looking at another person and capturing something true, is a fundamentally human act that no algorithm can replace. I believe that photographers have a future, but it's not the future they had. It's a future where they're not button pushers or filter appliers or commodity service providers. It's a future where they're artists, witnesses, storytellers, and caretakers of memory. It's a future where the photograph matters not because of how it looks, but because of why it exists. Audit, adapt, build, own. Humanity isn't ending. It's just beginning again. And if you made it this far, if you listened to this entire story, then you already know something important. You're the kind of person who still values depth over speed, meaning over efficiency, connection over convenience. You're the kind of person who might just save this industry by choosing to support the humans who still bear witness. Subscribe if you believe in human evolution, not extinction. Because this isn't just about photography. This is about every creative profession, every human endeavor, every act of making or building or caring that might be replaced by a machine that's faster, cheaper, and good enough. The question isn't whether the machines are coming, they're already here. The question is what we choose to value, what we choose to protect, what we choose to be. And that choice, at least for now, is still human.